We have our 3.5 millimeter needles, and our yarn here is 12 wraps per inch. So we're going to locate the tail. There it is. And then we're going to measure off an amount for the tail end. Let's say about 20 inches. These are 8-inch needles, so 8, 16, and a little more for 20. And then we're going to make a slip knot. So first cross the yarn over like so, and then pull from the working yarn, this bottom strand, not the tail end. That's very important. And then pull it close like this. So now you have a slip knot. So if you pull on the working yarn as opposed to the tail end, it will tighten it. You see, like that. That's what you want. So now we can go ahead and begin our long tail cast on. And if you're not already familiar with this cast on, you can click on this video up there in the top left, you see, and it'll take you to a tutorial regarding that. But I just want you to cast on 25 stitches essentially. You always count over them to be sure. It's 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 25, alright. And avoid the tail end, get into position with the working yarn, the one leading off to the yarn ball. And then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to slip the stitch purlwise, like so. That's all there is to it. You just slip it right off. But if you need more information, click the link in the top left. The next is going to be a purl stitch. And remember, the first round is always the hardest. So if you're having trouble doing this, like I always do, don't worry. You just got to get through this first round. And, don't split the yarn and it's turning into a mess. It's going to be fine. Just make it through the first round. And again, if you don't know the purl stitch yet, link in the top left. Next, we're going to knit 2, just like that. And again, if you're not familiar with the knit stitch, link is in the top left. The next one is a little tricky. We're going to purl this one through the back loop. So the way I like to do this is I slip the stitch I want to work purlwise, and then I twist it back on like that, and then I can just purl it regularly, and it'll be through the back loop. Again, link in the top left for more information. Now knit 2, and then purl 1. And then again, we're going to purl this one through the back loop. Let's do it the more standard method. Bring the yarn forward, go back behind, and up through, and then bring the working yarn back through. So you see that's a little more tedious. Or that's my opinion anyway. But then we're going to purl 1, and we're going to knit 2. And then again, we're going to purl 1 to the back loop. So I just slip it off, twist it back on to the left needle, and then purl it. Well, I made it look a lot harder than it had to be. But again, it's the first round, so everything takes a little longer. We're going to knit 1, and then we're going to knit 1 more, and then we're going to purl 1. So as you can notice here, every 4th stitch in this pattern is through the back loop. So we purl this one normally, and then put this one through the back loop. Just twist it around like this, place it back on, and then work it normally. And then we're going to do 3 stitches, and then we're going to do another one through the back loop. So here it is, a purl, and then 2 knits. One knit, and 2 knits. And then again, we're going to purl this one through the back loop. Lift it off, twist it around, and purl it like that. And then we're going to knit 2. Almost at the end here. 2. And then purl this one. And we always purl the last edge stitch right there. Just regular purl, not through the back loop. Okay, good. So we made it through the first round. We're in good shape. Let's turn it around and continue. So again, we always start by slipping the first stitch purlwise, and we're on the back of the work now. So what looks like a knit in the pattern is a purl. Everything is reversed. So we purl 1, and then we knit 1, and then we purl 1. And where we were purling through the back loop, we're now going to knit through the back loop like that. So you come in purlwise. You can twist it like that and then knit. But the simpler method is just come in purlwise and then knit it. And now it's through the back loop. It's as simple as that. But again, top left for more information. So purl, knit, purl to the back loop, just like that. Purl, knit, purl, and then through the back loop. So this second round is pretty straightforward. It's essentially a 1-1 ribbing, but every fourth stitch is knit through the back loop. So we're going to knit this one through the back loop, and we have 4 stitches remaining on this round. So we purl, then we knit, then we purl again, and as we approach this final stitch, the border stitch, we always purl that. Okay, great. We've done 2 rounds. So there's one more round in this pattern, and we're going to do it right now. So again, we slip the first stitch purlwise, and we're at the front of the work now, so knits are knits. So we knit 2, and then we purl 1. And next we purl 1 through the back loop, like so. So we did a purl before the purl through the back loop, so we do a purl after it as well. Purl, knit, and then we purl through the back loop. So we did 2 knits before the back loop, then we do 2 knits after the back loop, and then purl 1, and then purl through the back loop. And then we purl and knit 2, etc., all the way to the end, being sure to purl the last stitch. So that is one iteration of the pattern, but since it's an odd number, we're going to start it on the back of the work the second time around. Here you see we're looking at the back of the work. So things are going to be a little different, opposite to be exact, apart from the first stitch, of course, which we're just going to slip purlwise. And then instead of starting with a purl, we're going to start with a knit. So we're going to knit this first stitch, and then we're going to purl 2. And instead of purling through the back loop, we're going to knit through the back loop. Just like that. And then we're going to purl 2 and knit 1, and then knit through the back loop. And then we're going to knit 1 and purl 2, knit through the back loop, etc. So now we're closing on the end. We're going to knit 1 through the back loop, and we're going to purl 2, finally ending on a knit, and then of course purling the last stitch, just like that. Okay, so let's start round 5 here. We're going to slip the first stitch purlwise again, and now we're going to knit, and then purl, and then knit, and then purl through the back loop. So it's the opposite of round 2, because we're on the front versus the back. So we knit, purl, knit, and then purl through the back loop. So it's like a 1-1 ribbing with every fourth stitch being a purl through the back loop. And work that all the way to the end, yes, and then purl this last stitch. Okay, good. So we just finished row 5 there. Now we're going to move on to row 6. We're on the back of the work once again, and we're going to start like we always do by slipping the first stitch purlwise. And notice these spines starting to appear here, these back loop spines, every fourth stitch. And I want you to think of those as mirrors. Check this out. We're going to purl 2, and then knit 1. Purl 2, knit 1, right? And then we pass through the mirror. Then we knit 1, and then purl 2. And then once again, we pass through the looking glass, and then we purl 2 and knit 1. You see how this is working? Then we knit this one, right? You see that? So let's just place this knit through the back loop right here. And let me try to illustrate again. So you see, knit 1, purl 2, knit 1. Purl 2, knit 1, knit 1, purl 2. And then through the mirror and reverse. So knit 1, purl 2. So we knit 1, purl 2, through the back loop, purl 2, knit 1. And this rings true for every round. Every time you hit a back loop, you mirror what you just did. That's a good way to keep track of where you're at. And we're always going to end on a purl. So that's 2 iterations complete. And I just want you to continue doing this until you get a better feel for it. So here we are at 5 centimeters. I repeated this 6 times now. So I just started the last round. You can see the spines coming, and you see these sort of diagonal purls starting to emerge as well, leading into the columns. So let's have a look at that, a different way of reading the information. So a different way of listening to the work. So you see these spines, right? They're very apparent, and these diagonal purls are fairly apparent here. So you see them moving up towards this first spine, right? Up to the left, upward. So that's what we want to continue, right? Up to the right, up to the left, towards the center spine. So we slip the first stitch, and then we view this work here. You see that first one's a knit, right? And we want to move that to the left towards that spine. So we purl 1, we knit 1, and then we purl 1. And then we place that spine on there through the back loop, and then likewise here towards the right. So we purl 1, then we knit 1, and we purl the one that was knit the last round, right? And then go through the back loop again. And here we want to move it towards the left. So we take that knit stitch right there, we purl that, and then we move along, and then knit this one. So now it's moving up towards the left, and then we purl through the back loop, and again up towards the right. So we knit and knit in the center one, and then purl, and then here we are again, towards the left. So we purl, and then we knit, and then we purl, and then back through the back loop, right? And finally ending with a knit, purl, knit, and then purling the last stitch. So that was kind of a bad example because it's the center row. This row is going to make more sense what I'm trying to explain here, because it's more apparent, right? So we have those center columns through the back loop purled, and then what we want to do is move that purl that's now sitting in the middle there up towards that spine, right? See what I mean? Up towards that spine from right to left, or from left to right, depending on which side you're on. So right now we're going to move it up towards the left, right? So we knit that one, and then purl that last one, and then go through the back loop, through the mirror, and then we do the opposite. We're going to move it from the left up towards the right. So we purl that one, see, up that way, and then we knit the next two. So always look for these patterns, because doesn't matter how complex the work is, how complex the pattern you're doing, it's always going to speak to you. It's always going to have a tell informing you what you should be doing next. So what you're trying to do is train your ability to listen, to observe, to read the work like a book. It's trying to speak to you. You just need to tune into the frequency it's communicating at. Understand? Does this make sense? If it doesn't, that's fine too. Just read the pattern stitch by stitch. That also works. But I'm saying is, it's trying to talk to you. And if you can listen, if you can open yourself up to the possibility of observing, then pretty soon you won't need a pattern. You won't need my help. You can just play your own music from within. Okay, where am I? That's a purl, so this next one's going to be a purl as well. Then knit 2 and end on a purl to make that nice edge. So just keep doing that until you hit like 9 centimeters, 10 centimeters, and then we're going to bind off. All right? Okay, so I just finished the 13th iteration. I have about 10 centimeters, and I'm going to do a knit 2 together type of bind off here. So I knit 2 together like so. and then I place that loop back onto the left needle. Notice the orientation, and then I knit them again, 2 together like that. Look at how much slack I'm producing as well. Make sure you give it plenty of slack. That loop should be real loose. And notice the orientation. It's not crucial, but it's beneficial to do it like so. And just continue doing that until a couple of stitches remain. So here we are at the end, 3 stitches left. Place it back on, knit those 2 together, just like that. And then once again, we're just going to knit this one and drop that one over. I mean, you can just knit the last 2 together as well, but this is a different way where you can kind of get the last stitch real tight. So what we want to do is pull this just directly through those 2 stitches. I think this is going to work. It doesn't really matter, because when you sew off the end, in the end, it's like, yeah, you can always compensate a little bit for any slack left there. So pull that through and break it off like so, and then pull out the working yarn like that, and that looks like crap, but it doesn't really matter in this circumstance, does it? This is just an exercise. I think I take it back. You should just knit the last 2 stitches together as well. But anyway, that's what we're dealing with. You see these spines. Quite interesting. I rather like that, but I think I prefer the back.